Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I offer an update on the case of Rachael Gunn? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put a link to Patreon in the description for this video. I covered this case recently, so I will offer a brief background, including the timeline of the incident, before offering my analysis, which will include updated information. Rachael Gunn was born in 1987 and worked as a lecturer at Macquarie University in Sydney, Australia. She had earned a bachelor's degree in contemporary music and a PhD in cultural studies from that same university. Through her relationship with her boyfriend, who later became her husband, Rachael developed an intense interest in breakdancing, or breaking as it is called. Adopting the name Ray Gunn, Rachael trained as a breakdancer, or B-girl, as female participants in breakdancing are called. In 2018, Rachael resumed competing in breakdancing after taking some time off to write a thesis about that topic. In 2023, she qualified to represent Australia in the 2024 Olympics in Paris. Breakdancing had never been in the Olympics before, so this was an exciting opportunity for Rachael. On August 9, 2024, Rachael competed in the Olympics by performing 3 battles, as they are called, in the round-robin stage. She failed to score a single point and ended up with an aggregate score of 54-0. Rachael defended her performance by emphasizing the artistic, creative, and original elements of her performance, while recognizing that she had no chance of topping her opponent's power moves. The reaction to Rachael's attempt at breakdancing was immediate and overwhelming. Many people felt as though Rachael had disrespected the Olympics, breakdancing, and herself. They wondered how she was ever permitted to compete in the Olympics in the first place. Despite the widespread and accurate criticism, Rachael has a few supporters who have accused Rachael's detractors of being internet trolls. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. A controversial petition, which has now been removed, was started on change.org. This petition demanded accountability and transparency regarding Rachael Gunn and the selection process that landed her in the Olympics. 2-time gold medalist Anna Meares was specifically mentioned in the petition. Anna has been a supporter of Rachael's. It's worth noting that the petition misspelled Rachael's first name and Anna's last name. The petition falsely claimed that Rachael set up her own governing body for breakdancing and manipulated the selection process to her advantage. The petition demanded a public apology from Rachael and Anna, as well as a full investigation into the selection process. Before the petition was removed, it had accumulated over 56,000 signatures. The Australian Olympic Committee said the petition stirred up public hatred without any factual basis. It was vexatious, misleading, defamatory, and represented bullying. I think this petition captured the frustration with the selection process, but putting misinformation in it and misspelling names only undermined the position of the critics. This petition did not accurately reflect the legitimate criticisms of both the selection process and Rachael's performance. This brings me to item number 2. Was the selection process for the Australian Olympic breakdancing team fair? How did Rachael end up representing Australia in the Olympics? In October 2023, Rachael prevailed in the Oceania qualifying event in Sydney. This is what sent her to the Olympics. During the competition, she defeated another breakdancer named Molly Chapman. Many people have looked at the various breakdancing performances put on by Molly, and they are stunned that Rachael could have ever defeated her. It really seems like Molly should have easily won based on the skills that she has demonstrated in the past. The Oceania qualifying event featured 9 independent judges. Contrary to various false claims, Anna Meares was not involved with the selection process, and Rachael's husband, Samuel Free, was not a judge at the event. The competition between Rachael Gunn and Molly Chapman was very close, but Rachael defeated Molly, and no one appealed the decision. Furthermore, at another breakdancing competition a month earlier in Belgium, Rachael ranked 64th out of 80 competitors. Molly Chapman was ranked 79th. There have also been false accusations that Rachael had authority related to how money was used for breakdancing. However, in reality, she had no responsibility for any funding decisions. Sending the breakdancing team to the Olympics cost $25 million, but it was paid for by the Australian Olympic Committee. No taxpayer funds were provided. It appears as though Rachael won fair and square. She did not possess any unfair advantage. She also didn't possess any breakdancing skills, which has left a lot of people confused. Item number 3. In response to the firestorm, Rachael posted a short video on Instagram. In the video, she thanked people who supported her and said she was glad she could bring joy into people's lives. She did not realize her performance would also open up the door to so much hate, which has been devastating to her. She had fun during her performance at the Olympics, but still took it seriously. She worked hard preparing and gave her all. Rachael addressed the allegations and misinformation that have been floating around, saying that people should read the statement released by the Australian Olympic Committee. She then stated that the sport of breakdancing does not have points. If people want to see how she compared to her opponents, they should go to Olympics.com, where all comparison percentages on the 5 criteria are available. Rachael concluded the video by accusing the press of harassing her family, friends, and members of the breaking community. Item number 4. Rachael invited people to analyze the comparison percentages scored from her performances at the Olympics. Presumably, she believed that an analysis of these percentages would yield a more favorable result than simply looking at the 54-0 score. The aggregate score makes it look like she was annihilated by her opponents, but maybe she didn't lose the matches dramatically if one looks at the score percentages. Perhaps the battles were pretty close, after all. I analyzed the data from all 3 of Rachael's round-robin battles and 2 other battles not involving Rachael for comparison. The results did not support the idea that Rachael was competitive in her battles. In order for the results of my analysis to make sense, it's important that I explain how breakdancing is scored in the Olympics. All scores are given in the context of one breakdancer competing against another. These matches are referred to as battles. In the round-robin stage, each dancer performs in 2 rounds per battle. 9 judges watch the performances and evaluate the breakdancers on 5 different criteria: technique, vocabulary, originality, execution, and musicality. The scores are issued in the form of comparison percentages that are later converted to points. For example, consider a situation where one breakdancer was labeled red and the other was labeled blue, which is how the data are expressed in the tables. If a judge thought that red performed better than blue on the execution criterion, they would mark that criterion red along with a percentage score. This shows that red did better than blue. The specific value of the percentage reflects the magnitude of the breakdancer's superiority. So if red barely outperformed blue, the percentage might be something like 0.4% or 0.6%. This reflects a small difference between the performances, so it was a close round. If red did a lot better than blue, red might receive a score like 3% or 4%. This indicates a large difference. Red was vastly superior to blue. The competitor with the greater aggregate percentage score at the end of the round across the 5 equal-weighted criteria gets a point from that judge. At least 5 points are needed to win the round. This makes sense because there are 9 total points available. With all this in mind, if one were to examine a score matrix from a close round, one would expect to see a lot of red and blue. Red would be better sometimes, blue would be better other times, but overall, one of the breakdancers would come out on top. If a round was extremely lopsided, one would expect to see either mostly red or mostly blue. Let's take a look at a few of these score matrices from breakdancing in the Olympics. Here is a battle between Portugal, in red, and the United States, in blue. This was a reasonably competitive battle. Blue won 13-5. It was a definitive victory, but certainly not a wipeout. In round 1, we can see that even though blue was victorious, red is well represented. Round 2 was more strongly in blue's favor, but red continued to be well represented in the matrix. Moving to another battle, this one was between Japan in red and Italy in blue. This battle was scored 17-1 in favor of red. It is a solid victory. However, in both rounds, blue still managed to get on the board. One important observation here is how there is only one overall percentage score over 10% in the first round and 2 over 10% in the second round. While considering these battles and the values in the matrices, let's move to Rachel's performances. As I mentioned, Rachael failed to score a single point, but how did she perform as far as the comparison percentages? These are the scores she wanted people to look at. Again, this was her request. In her battle against Lithuania in blue, Rachael was red. Only 2 comparison percentages in round 1 were in her favor. They were both scored on the originality criterion. 4 of her overall scores were 10% or over. One of those was a staggering 85.2%. Round 2 is even more catastrophic. Rachael did not win with any judge in any criteria. There were 6 overall scores over 10%. Rachael wasn't just defeated, she was obliterated. Now, it's worth noting that this was just one battle. Maybe Rachael did better in the other 2. As it turns out, she did not do any better. Rachael performed just as badly against France, where she was red and France was blue, and against the United States, where Rachael was blue and the United States was red. For all 3 battles, Rachael only had a winning comparison percentage score for 6 items on the originality criterion and 1 item on the vocabulary criterion. So 7 winning percentage scores out of 270. Staying with the military analogy used in breakdancing, Rachael didn't simply lose the battle. She was blown off the battlefield, kicked out of the army, and forced to give up her pension. This was less a battle and more an extinction-level event. Item number 5. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Rachael appears to have little insight into her breakdancing performances at the Olympics. It's also possible that she does have insight, but she does not want to admit how badly she performed. Rachael is now attempting to play the victim based on misinformation that was spread about her. She also tried to act like her critics were attacking other people. So Rachael isn't alone, she's in a group of victims. This is an attempt to divert people away from her lack of skill and her decision to represent her country at the Olympics. Rachael tried to defend her performance by calling attention to the comparison percentages. This is extremely offensive to her opponents. During Olympic competition, people win and lose. It's neither good nor bad. It is simply the reality of this type of competition. When people win, they deserve their victories to be accurately described. Rachael has insulted her competitors by implying the battles were somehow closer than people thought. They were not close. Rachael lost badly. Her defeat can be demonstrated mathematically. Rachael's attitude after this defeat puts her in a tough position. Being honest with herself and everyone else would have been a far better move than what she is doing. Playing the victim will get her nowhere. She may not be a champion breakdancer, or even someone who should repeat the word breakdancing in public, but she could win a gold medal for gaslighting those who correctly evaluated her performance. Her response to the controversy makes her look disingenuous, defensive, or maybe even oblivious. A much better tactic for Rachael would have been to laugh with people who were laughing at her performance. It was genuinely hysterical. She threw away a massive opportunity to unite the world in laughter. Rachael should join with those having fun, take some ownership of her behavior. She could say something like, "Well, I really didn't have any idea what I was doing, or I do not possess the skills I thought I did. I learned a valuable lesson about overconfidence." Rachael is an educator at a university. This is her chance to teach people. She has an incredible life lesson to transmit. How many people go to the Olympics and embarrass themselves on that scale? Unfortunately, Rachael has chosen to break in another direction. Instead of embracing what is real, she continues to hold on to a fantasy. She is still living in a world where her breakdancing skills are impressive, as she supplies people with directions on how to find data proving the opposite. Rachael believed the empirically validated criticism of her to be devastating. One could argue that her behavior was devastating to all those who take the Olympics seriously. That is my update on the case of Rachael Gunn. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comments section. They consistently generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.